Hey everyone. I unlocked the Hu Tao quest earlier today, and I have to say, it really is the most morbid quest in this game. There's a morbid sense of humor all throughout the quest, and it's just hilarious to me. But there were some things in this quest that absolutely stood out. And for the sake of this particular video, I'd like to go over them. All I have to say is that the New World Order is getting a whole lot bolder with what they put into their games if stuff like this is gonna show up. When we get to Leeway, Hu Tao is actually very tactful on what should and shouldn't be known, and it's believed that too much knowledge is bad for the ordinary folk, which I find quite interesting. That's pretty bold to put in a game. It feels like the NWO is telling it to us straight that they feel that there's certain things that we shouldn't be allowed to know. By putting things in games and adding a whole bunch of humor to it, they can get us to pass a lot of these things off. It's deflection. It's what they commonly do. We're gonna be deflected by the humor. And because then everybody will say, oh, this is just fiction. It has nothing to it. When in reality, the opposite is true. The elites always have such a habit of hiding the truth in plain sight, and when you know what you're looking at, you can find it.
You must be the director's new hires.
Not us! We're just very curious about Wangsheng Funeral Parlor and Hu Tao.
Well, I wouldn't get too curious if I were you. Too much knowledge isn't good for ordinary folk. The director is tactful when it comes to what should and shouldn't be known.
Her? Tactful? So, what mysterious rituals are you gonna perform here?
No ritual at all. We just need to kill some time.
Eh?
Wait, you didn't take all that vengeful God's curse stuff seriously, did you? They were eradicated ages ago. You saw those two. One thinks he's been cursed, and the other one believes his friends turned into an evil spirit. It's hard to reason with them. Now you see why I believe that ordinary folks should be kept in the dark. I've seen too many people lose their senses on account of things like this. If you want to calm them down, you need to convince them with something tangible. And the best way to do that is to make a great show of destroying the boogeyman they believe in before their very eyes.
Sounds like that might work. If you were trying to cheer up a 3-year-old. You're onto something. After all, we're only afraid of what we don't know.
Because you can't guarantee that telling an ignorant person the truth will improve the situation instead of exacerbating it. What I can do is pretend to pull back anyone who believes their time is nigh. But since the curse is imaginary, our fix will also be make-believe. Oh, you're back already? Sooner than I expected. You didn't go spilling the beans, did you, Paimon?
Does Paimon look that unreliable to you?
I'm kidding. Anyway, looks like they were willing to hand over some keepsakes, so I guess they knew the deal. Nevertheless, when it comes to things like ghosts and ghouls, spirits and souls, the one thing everyone knows is you never know what to expect. Which explains why they were reluctant to pry and find out the full story. Which is just as well, because if they had attempted to, it would have been too much for me to deal with. Guard the border between life and death. This is Wangsheng Funeral Parlor's most important responsibility, and I'm stricter than most.
So what about us? Does it matter if we cross the border?
Of course not. After all, you were caught up in all this already, just like Meng. It's not the end of the world if you catch a glimpse behind the curtain. And where we're going, don't be surprised at what you may see or what may occur. All of it exists within the border between the living and the dead. An ordinary place, really. The only special thing about it is that nobody really knows about it. Whatever you do, don't get all worked up over nothing, okay? Or else by the time we're out, I'll have to erase your memories. Meng's already crossed the border. That's the only way to send Big G off. As I explained, Wangsheng Funeral Parlor was, once upon a time, more akin to a doctor's office than an actual funeral parlor. During the Archon War, piles of corpses covered the wilderness. People were plunged into misery and suffering. Disease was spreading all over the land. Death devastated the world of the living. Such were the times when the Wangsheng Funeral Parlor was first established. As humans, its founders were deemed too insignificant to matter, but slowly, they managed to drive away death.
They must have paid a huge price for that.
After generations, Liyue Harbor became a bustling hub of prosperity, luring people with dreams of great fame and abundant mora. But in the end, some lunatics stirred up the legacy of the dead. By that I mean the remnants of the defeated gods that ravaged the world. I won't go into specifics of that situation, but suffice to say that at its peak, life was on the verge of bringing about its own extinction, while death was coming back with a vengeance. It took a long, long time, longer than you'd think, to restore balance and reinstate the border. Without it, Liyue Harbor as we know it wouldn't be here today, neither would the Wangsheng Funeral Parlor, you or me. Not a chance. Curiosity can be perilous, you know. Don't forget my warning, the less you know, the better. What you make of my words is up to you. I do hope that most of it flew over your heads, though. The Wangsheng Funeral Parlor is just that, a funeral parlor. Nothing more to it.
To be perfectly honest here, there is a whole lot of truth to the story, and I think that the elites really just don't want us to know about it. Note how Hu Tao keeps saying, the less you know, the better. Now, well, the game gives us a reason why it would be better for common folk to know less. I personally think that it would be better if the common folk knew more. If everybody knew about the spiritual realm and what lies behind the veil, and knew how to deal with it, then we could all help one another out, pray for one another, and stuff like that. The elites are actively trying to strip our spirituality away from us, using the food we eat, the water we drink, and the chemtrails in the sky, as well as vaccines. Over-vaccination is a huge, huge problem. And it is there to stunt out our spirituality and spiritual growth. It's just the way it is. The thing is, though, the elites have failed to stunt out every piece of spiritual knowledge that there is, and there are spiritual people. So will the elites have tried to keep us all away from our spirituality that's inherent to us? They have not succeeded in keeping out every single last nook and cranny. So it is completely important, if you are a spiritual person, to try to have a connection with the Most High. That's the most important thing. Getting to actually know God for yourself and having a personal relationship with Him is vital. The elites hid their spirituality to hide God. The fact remains that the elites have tried to keep all the spirituality to themselves for years and have failed miserably, as more people keep waking up to the spiritual realm and what all is there. And the fact that this concept has even showed up in a game where someone with spiritual knowledge wants to keep everyone else away from spiritual knowledge as much as they possibly can, well, that's pretty interesting, and I think we should stop and think about it. This should be thought-provoking. It's not just about the story that the game is trying to tell at this point, it's the fact that they chose to put that in our faces so blatantly. I will see everybody in the next video. Thank you for watching.